I want to try to do something a little different in this video. First of all, I'm a gamer, not a YouTuber. And what I mean by that is I actually play my games. Usually I beat my games. I rarely don't beat a game. And I don't have that much time as opposed to other YouTubers. So I'm not gaming 24/7. So a game like Wuchang Fallen Feathers took me, I played 38 hours of this game. And that takes me like 2 months of real life time. So to do this channel, I have to rely a lot of like videos about like gaming news and stuff, and I can only make games videos about games I'm playing every so often if I'm actually going to play the games. I can't make a whole channel about games, or I'm not going to finish the games. And so, like, I'm still experimenting with my content, and I made a first impressions video for this game. And I've been sitting on it for a little bit because my channel is really small right now. And so part of that is just like, with the YouTube algorithm, like I'm having more fun, like talking in the comments with people about just like a bunch of gaming topics. And so it's more fun if the channel grows, like it just is. And then there's more people that watch and comment and more conversation to happen. And so, and as part of that, like right now, early on, I can't just like post any video I want. It's not going to perform well. And like, the people who are like been loyal subscribers, which there are some that watch like every video right away, I'm very appreciative of you. Like, thank you so much. Sometimes it can go past that. And like, so like, but at least I can get a video out for them. And so like, just when I made a first impressions video for this, like 8 hours into the game, an early impressions video. But I've been sitting on it because like other gaming news, the other videos have been popping up that I'm like, this one's probably better with the algorithm for my channel currently, and I can upload it. And I've kind of figured I can only upload like one vid or two videos a week, basically. If I do any more than that, it just like kills the video, like the previous one. And so like the possible reach of like helping to grow the channel in this early phase, that gets out the door, and it's kind of just like a waste almost. So I sat on it for a while. I still want to upload it because like this channel is like it's going over my gaming hobby. The games I'm playing, I kind of want to like document them throughout the videos and just like gaming news and my thoughts and feelings and everything. And so I still want to get it out on the channel, but then like it started to become like, well, I have this video made, but I don't feel a good time to release it because like I'm gonna release it and people are gonna hopefully in the comments like talk about where I'm at in the game that I talk about. But I'm like, oh yeah, like this video's old. I beat the game already. I get it. I know. Yeah, I know I'm doing that wrong. I beat it though. It's okay. I didn't want that. And so I got this idea that's like, you know what? I just beat the game, or I just beat the game, and I want to make a final impressions video. And then I don't know, let's just chain them together. One big video. We'll just put it all out at once and just get it over with in terms of the algorithm. Let's put all my Wuchang Fallen Feathers thoughts in one big video. I'll put some chapter descriptions in the comment for like the where the first impression starts and where the final impressions are. So like whichever you're more interested in, or you want to skip around and check out my feelings early on or later, whether you've played this game or you're interested in the game. This is my first ever Soulslike also. So if you've never played a Soulslike, you don't know anything about it, and you want some impressions and thoughts of someone who also is their first Soulslike in general, which probably extends past this game specifically, let's just throw it all together and and see what happens. So without any further ado, this video is my thoughts and impressions on Wuchang Fallen Feathers. What's up, you guys? I think I'm finally ready to share my thoughts and talk about Wuchang Fallen Feathers. This is the game that I've been playing ever since completing the Donkey Kong Bonanza post-game. I didn't 100% that game, but I did get the second credits. I know, crazy. There are gamers out there that can play all kinds of games and enjoy them. But Wuchang Fallen Feathers was the next on my list. I wasn't following this game at all. This really popped up on my radar very last minute. Some of my favorite games of the generation have been Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth, and also Stellar Blade. So like, judging a book by its cover, this looked like it was really up that alley with those types of games. So I was like, you know what? Let's check out that game. That might be something I really enjoy. Maybe it's the protagonist. I'm not sure. But I do love action combat games. But actually, I've never played a Souls-like game before, believe it or not. I played like 5 minutes of Dark Souls one time. I don't know, really late, like maybe 2018, and it was really hard. And I was just like, I'm too old for this. I'm not here to play difficult games. I want to enjoy the story and relax after a long day of work. So I wrote it off. Since then, in like, I think maybe it really started with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, that I got really deeply invested in that game. I got the platinum, which took me 200 hours, and it involved fighting some really, really difficult bosses. I got really invested into the systems of that game, and I really started to appreciate the immersion you can get when playing such a difficult game. Actually, I'm now playing a lot of my games on harder difficulties because of that. Stellar Blade was the same way. There were some very difficult bosses. Action RPG. You're in like an arena, battle arena, when you do like a boss fight, and it was very and there's some very difficult combat scenarios. So you know what? I heard this was a Souls-like game, and it says here on the back, Wuchang Fallen Feathers is a Souls-like action RPG. I kind of hate that, that Souls-like is like this official term that's actually on the back of the box, and it has like transcended internet lingo, because like, now I have beaten, I think, 5 or 6 bosses. I'm not sure which ones are considered mini bosses. I haven't been tracking that hard, but I finished like the first like main section of this game, to the point where like it warped you back to kind of like the, I don't know, starting zone, and then you start going down like a different path. And so I played enough of it where I feel like I have some impression. I understand the game loop, and I do like it. It has been fun. I've really been enjoying the challenge. Everything else about it, though, I do feel like this game really is like a 6.5 to 7 out of 10. And that's not, I mean, I think I've seen some rumbling online that might be like not a great Souls-like, so, which is crazy because this is my first true Souls-like game, I feel like. And it really makes me want to try out Elden Ring and Dark Souls PS5. I got Dark Souls PS5, I'm sorry, Demon Souls PS5, the remake, when it came out. I had to buy a PS5 bundle because of, scalpers and everything. I had to pick up a bundle with that and Miles Morales. But I've never played it because I've been intimidated by it. So I'm, getting over my fears of that intimidation and trying this out, And so when it comes to the combat of the difficulty, I just did this fight. Yes, it was like the 5th or 6th fight. And I thought I was going to maybe quit the game. I've been chugging along the game. I'm not the most familiar with like the Souls-like combat scenarios with like the dodging, the parrying, all the type of builds you can do. And so I got to this boss, and it took me 2.5 hours, not consecutively, different sessions of playing it to figure out. And like, what I really appreciate about this and what keeps me going is all the bosses. Yeah, it's action combat, but really, like, deep down, I feel like these like combat scenarios against these really difficult bosses are really more just like puzzles, more than just like pure action combat skill. At the core of it, there's a puzzle to solve. You watch the enemy's animation, find out, should I dodge, should I block, should I parry. I'm sure there's there's multiple weapon types. Like, I've been using axe primarily. That's just what vibed with me. With like I don't know, maybe it's the heavy attack. Maybe I've been using that as a crutch to get through the initial beginning of the game, where I'm completely a noob. So, having to learn the game and the mechanics. Again, I don't know how to compare this with other Souls-like games, if a lot of this stuff is standardized or not. Is this just a big ripoff or not? I don't have that perspective. So, there's axe, there's long sword, there's single sword, and a spear. And so, I've been really comfortable with an axe, but I'm sure that some of these bosses, that some of them, it's like, maybe spear actually gives you the best advantage. Maybe something like rock, paper, scissors type of thing. But I think, you could probably get by with any weapon you choose based on your playstyle, but there's a puzzle there to figure out. And so during that fight, like, I almost thought I was going to give up on the game. I was like, oh man, did I hit a wall? 5 or 6 bosses in. Am I going to hit a wall with this game? And am I going to give up? And I kept playing, trying to figure out the animations, the dodging. And it forces you to grow, which is what's cool about it. So you're stuck on a boss, and in order to beat it, you have to like learn more about the game and the mechanics of the game. And so I figured out a way. I was like, okay, like, I can dodge and build up my magic stack and then attack them with this strong, like, 3-level magic attack. which at first I didn't even know I had. I wasn't able to use it. I couldn't figure out why, and because in the skill tree you have to unlock the ability to have multiple stacks. So I thought I've been unlocking magic attacks, but I'm too stupid and didn't realize I had to invest in my skill tree to get that unlocked. I kept investing into the axe, which is my primary weapon, and getting stuff like more health and more strength, and kind of playing like that versus using a lot of magic. But I found I was able to attack her much easier without taking damage if I dodge, build up magic, and attack. And so once I did that, I was like, okay, this is cool, but it's really slow. And I still wasn't very good at dodging her. I was still like really figuring it out. Eventually, I got my way up to phase 2, and I was like, oh man, here's a whole nother phase and a whole other thing to learn, but it's taking me forever to get to phase 2. So I got to figure out how to get good at the game, looking at the menus, looking up combos. That's one thing I don't really want to do with this type of game is I don't want to look up a strategy online because it's really a puzzle. So I don't want to look up the answers. Any kind of game like this that's difficult, I feel like I should be able to solve within the game. And yeah, whether it's like loading screen tips or if I go into the menus with the tutorials, stuff like that, just like read what's in the game. I don't really want to go onto YouTube and look up a strategy on how to beat a boss. Of course, with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, I did end up doing that for like the last 3 bosses, but that was a huge exception for me these days. I used to do that while I used to achievement hunt all the time. But right now, I'm not here to just check off an achievement list. I'm here for entertainment. And I only did that because I was already 190 hours into the game. I really just wanted to finish it. And at that point, even with... And that's probably can apply with this game too. Even if I knew the answers, even if I knew the strategy, there is some skill involved in that. Like, that's not saying that this is only a puzzle. There's no skill involved with the combat scenario. Because then, like, I got to the point where I had a strategy. I knew what to do. I knew how to dodge, build up my magic, use my magic, when to use it. But I can blunder and I can slip and mess up. And then if you get hit, like, you get really destroyed fast in these games. And then you have to use a healing item. And you only get so many healing items that recharge, or then you have to resort to permanent items that if you die, they're gone for good. And so that was really my strategy, is I kept fighting the boss, using my dodge strategy, and I got to phase 2. I realized this is a whole other phase to try, so then I was like, I need to alter my strategy and start learning how to use the axe, really play the game properly, because I wasn't really convinced that dodging and using my magic to do a little bit of damage, which ended up would be an endurance test. It seemed boring, seemed not the correct way to really approach this boss. And so I did start learning new combos and learning how to clash, which seems like it's the parry system in this game, but it's not like really a parry system. Like, I was doing it and it worked, but that put me then in close proximity to the boss where I actually started taking damage. So it was like pretty high risk, but if I was able to get behind her and hit her in the back, then I can do this, like, I don't know, super attack or whatever that knocked her to the ground. And then that did big damage to her, which later then I realized then when she's on the ground, if I switch to using light attacks, I can, if I attack in the back, I get some health back. So then even if I take damage, as long as I can hit her in the back and do that big attack, I can get my health back. But still, I haven't been able to figure out how to dodge and get behind and hit her consistently. And so there was still this risk reward. But doing this, I was able to get to phase 2 faster. But not with all 5 of my healing items, which I had. Maybe I had like 1 or 2. And so I would get to phase 2, and then I started learning those animations and where to dodge. And I wasn't sure if there was going to be a phase 3 with this fight. So, I had to be careful with it. And so I kept fighting, and, I started figuring out, okay, I think I figured out how this works. In terms of like my own strategy, I think my original magic endurance thing works. So, I figured out there's like some flying sword attacks. I can dodge these, dodge those, build up stacks real fast, attack with magic, and then just like run away as she does these other fights, which maybe I can clash them and cancel them out. But really still not confident right now. And maybe axe isn't even the best weapon. Like, I have to acknowledge that I might just, maybe I have to reset my skill tree and do another weapon. But I wasn't convinced I really wanted to do that yet. Like, I felt pretty close. And so I was getting to this point with my new strategy of what I considered probably playing the game more properly, is I got to the point where I was able to get to phase 2 pretty consistently, but with 1 or 2 healths. And then I was able to start dodging, and I kind of figured out the pattern. I'm like, okay, like I'm getting hurt sometimes. I'm blundering a little more at phase 2, but I'm doing pretty good. And then so towards the end of, I think I was doing like a 1 hour session. So towards the end, I was like, okay, one more fight. And then I was like, but I've been getting really good at dodging her uh, to build up my 3 stacks, which instead of using for magic, I was using them for like power attacks, which would help me get that back strike, knock her on the ground, hit her back, and do some heals. And so I'm realizing, oh, I'm very easily getting 3 stacks. So I went back to my original magic dodge endurance test because I'm very consistently hitting the dodge, getting the magic stack. I know when to use it. I've pretty much mastered phase 1. And I was able to get to phase 2 without taking a single hit of damage. I had all 5 of my heals for phase 2. I was like, okay, we're in business. Let's keep going. And also at this point, it went from like, phase 1, I'm like leaning and fighting, really intense. Again, the beginning of this boss fight, 2 hours of grinding this boss, I thought I might have quit the game. Now I'm at the point where I'm leaning back, relax. I'm like, I know how to dodge her. Like phase 1 has now become easy. And I got to phase 2 with all my healing, my normal standard healing items. And one of the things with this is like, okay, I don't mind if I can, like, I eventually think I'm going to use like actual items, the permanent items, that if I die, I ended up wasting them. But I only want to do that if I'm pretty confident with, phase 2, that there's not going to be a phase 3, that I have a general idea how to dodge, and I want to use that to brute force my way to the end. That's how I've done some of the other bosses. And I actually, like, on contrary to like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, I never used items in that game. Even like Yakuza 0, when I was playing that different kind of game, I just don't like using items in the game, because what if I need them later? This game, I'm just like unapologetically, just, I don't care about the side quests. I just want to like see if I can beat the game, because I've been too intimidated by Soulslike to begin with. Like, my goal is just to complete the game. Can I beat all the bosses and get to the game? And so, I get like more than halfway through phase 2. I'm thinking there might not be a phase 3. I blundered a few times. I'm out of the permanent heal items. I'm like, okay, let's use some actual items. I got the animations down. I'm wiping my hands on my pants like when I get the chance, because here we are. We're committing to using the permanent items, the permanent healing items, and like I'm so immersed in the fight. Like, I don't want to blink, because I know, like, I have no, like, this is it. If I blunder, I'm dead. And like, I'm using healing items, but I'm not getting full health. Like, and the only ones I had were like slow recovery ones. And like, my eyes, like, my hands are starting to sweat, heart's kind of racing, my eyes, like, tears were running down my eyes because I didn't want to blink. And again, this was an endurance test. Like, I wasn't quickly fighting it. I was kind of dodging. Like, I don't like the way I was playing it, but like, again, the fight was a puzzle, and this was kind of my answer to it. I was like, oh man, is this my answer? And this was also, like, again, my first time doing this endurance test. For a bit, I was trying to do a better way, but I had tears running down my face, and like, I'm looking at the health. I'm like, I just need to do 2 more cycles of this. Let's relax, calm down. Like we got this. But hands are sweating, tears running down my eyes, and I beat it, and it felt great. And like, out of that whole experience, I'm doing the next phase. So the game loop is really like, there's like checkpoints. You go from one checkpoint to a next checkpoint, and like between that, you have to make it there without like dying. So you have to fight all the enemies between point A to point B. And if you die, they all come back. So like, you have to earn your way to the next checkpoint. And then eventually, you do a couple of checkpoints, and then there's a boss fight. And so now, like, I beat that boss. I went on to like the next, cycle of just kind of moving straight to the next checkpoint. And I feel like a better player, and I can't wait to just like, keep going, keep getting my character stronger, my build stronger, and try the next boss fight. I'm not sure if the next boss fight's gonna be harder than what I just did, because like, out of like the 5 or 6 bosses, some have been easier, some have been harder. Maybe it's just because like my brain and my style of gameplay, that one didn't vibe with me. But maybe other players with other play styles, that boss was actually not bad or easy. So I think that's just how it depends. There's like many ways to play through this game. But so I'm having a great time, based on this story and discussion. But It is really just like a 6.5 out of 7. I don't really know if I would recommend this to my closest friends. It's a difficult game, and like I don't think like there's not really a big story. Again, reading some stuff about Souls like game that might be standard where there's a lot of lore to read and with the characters. The game is it's a Chinese setting, and so all the characters have really big Chinese names and Chinese settings, and I'm not good with names and faces already, so it's hard for me to understand any of the characters or even try to understand the story that much. My wife's Chinese, my kids are half Chinese, so like that's no knock on anything like that. I'm just saying like I'm just not good with names to begin with, and it's just difficult. There's like there's no story or cutscene. Like yeah, like the main protagonist is attractive, but there's no story, there's no personality. It's all just like whatever. Um, and yeah, maybe that's it. But again, like I think of like Stellar Blade, and I love the lore in that game. I read all those collectibles and pickups with the lore items, and I did enjoy that one. I was able to comprehend and enjoy that one. So I don't know. Maybe the lore just in this is just not that great. I like the set pieces and the settings. I feel really immersed in them because of the difficulty of the game. So like every point A to point B checkpoint, you have to earn it and you have to be immersed in it, and that's a lot of fun. And so that looks cool. Music, the on the PS5, like on the home screen, like when you sit over the game before you launch it, the sometimes a song plays. Most PS5s do games like play a song, but not all. And the song's awesome. So I was like, this game sounds like it's gonna have great music. So I was really hyped to play it because I had it installed for a bit. So I was listening to that song. I'm like, man, this game looks awesome. But none of the music has really stood out to me in the game. Um, I don't know. There's some things like I know there's side quests and stuff, but I don't care about them. There's not really a checklist. So, like honestly, thankfully, like I don't care about them. Like there is a way to tell like where the side quests are, how many more you need in an area, but uh, it's just like I don't know. I think the UI could be a little more cleaned up on it in that aspect to know like exact like that there's things to do. Um, I don't know. So much of it is just like okay, but I do like the challenge, and it's really making me want to play something like Elden Ring or Demon Souls. It's probably going to be Demon Souls would be the next Souls like game I would play, uh, and then maybe Elden Ring possibly. But not anytime soon. Like after this, I'm gonna need a break. And what's really funny is like I earlier played and reviewed Yakuza Zero. I only played like two chapters of that game, and my biggest complaint with that was it was like too much story, and this one's like not enough story. So honestly, after this, I'm honestly considering like going back and like maybe doing like chapter 3 of Yakuza Zero, just to like kind of cleanse myself, like just a polar opposite of this, where there's like just like no story, so much action, very hard, to something that's like a lot of story and a bit easier, chill, or like casual, even like casual, very simple button mashing fighting. And maybe I'll just do like a chapter 3. That'd be a very interesting way to approach the Yakuza series. Is not like play one game, then take a break, then another game, but like just like breaking up into like I'll play some chapters of one game and then come back and do a couple more chapters, then play a different game. Because that's such a long series too. But now that like the Souls like there's a lot of Souls like games out there that I've yet to play, and I think I'm just improving this game. I'm gonna keep playing this game. I haven't quit yet. I'm curious how far I will get with it, or if there's gonna be a point where I give up, or just need to take a break and mix another game in. But I am still really enjoying this game. Hard to recommend. It's hard to recommend because I don't know how it stacks up with other Souls games. I really can't be like, if you like Souls games, you're gonna like this game, because I don't think that's true at all. I don't think I can confidently make that statement because I haven't played other Souls games. This could be the worst Souls game, but I don't know better. But I'm having fun with it because of the challenge, and maybe because it's my first Souls game, and maybe I would like any Souls game the same way I'm liking this right now. So maybe it's only uphill from here. But at the same time, uh, it's just like missing a little bit of polish. Like the graphics aren't that great. The music's not standing out to me. Again, like the same way like Stellar Blade's music. That I thought that music was incredible. Not standing out to me. The protagonist, you know, uh, gorgeous looking protagonist, but that only like you need some personality behind it. There's nothing here, so it's like cool, but like that looks isn't enough, to drive that. The setting's cool, but I can't tell you anything about the story. She's sick with these feathers. That's an excuse to give her magic powers, and and it's also the excuse why everyone's attacking you, and you have to get to the end of the game to like find a cure. Like that's it. Nothing to it but to do it. And yeah, so again, if you haven't played this game, maybe this discussion helped, or if you have played a Souls-like game before, maybe you're like, oh yeah, like this guy is, an idiot. Like that's just how Souls games work. But it's new to me. That's my impressions of it. And yeah, let me know in the comments if you played this game. Do you like it? Am I on the right path? Do you know what boss I was talking about earlier on? Like, what was your strategy to fight it? Did I use just like a ridiculous, laughable strategy? I might have. Like, I should have captured the video for it on the PS5. It's probably like horrible to watch. But maybe that is how these games are, and that you just have to dodge in it, and maybe there just are endurance test bosses in this game, and maybe that's not going to be my last one. That's I mean, I guess they're all endurance tests to an extent, but that one really felt like I was just doing the same thing over and over again. Um, yeah, I don't know if not. Maybe it wasn't fun. If I was doing that for 2 hours, it wouldn't have been fun. But I didn't mix it up, and I just kind of like went back to it after I got better at dodging. Using some other strategy. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. It's a cool game. I think it's a 6.5 or 7 out of 10. But it's a great 6.5 or 7 out of 10. I think 7 out of 10 is a good game. But yeah, I don't think I'm gonna hold this on a pedestal like Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth or Stellar Blade, which was what I was hoping for, and that's what got me into the game. But I don't regret this purchase. I don't regret my time playing it. I'm going to continue to play it. And I don't think I'm going to go for a platinum. I'm just going to go for a simple, just beat the game. And yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments. If this helped you decide if you want the game or not. Have you played it and beat it? Do you think this is easy? Or is it a more difficult Souls-like game? And do I have a ways to go on my Souls-like journey? Well, thank you guys. See you in the next video. Alright, so I just completed Wuchang Fallen Feathers this morning. I've been sitting on it a little bit, and I just want to talk about my final impressions for this game. I don't know what else to say, but when I completed the game, I just honestly felt disappointed. And I've been thinking about it all day, and I feel kind of disappointed. And the reason for that is I beat the final boss, on my first try. And when it mixes in with the other parts of the game that I'm disappointed at that I'll explain throughout this video, it was just like, that's what I worked for. I thought there was really no story in this game. Now there is a story, but this is one of my big critiques of the game. Is when you're going into it, if you haven't played it yet, or if you're into, maybe if you haven't played any Souls-like, this might be how the whole genre is. This was my first Souls-like I've ever played. Well, I'm gonna say there's no story, but like there was a story. It's like most games I feel like are closer to like movies, like interactive movie experiences. I'm not talking about like cinematic games, like first party PlayStation games. Of course, those are like the cream of the crop, like the main type of like movie kind of games. But games in general for me are like a story that there's cutscenes and like there's clear dialogue and all of that. This game was more like almost you have to go into the story as more like reading a book. Like you really have to carefully read all the dialogue, but there's barely any dialogue. I mean, the main character, if you can even call her a character, I think she says 2 lines the entire game. So yeah, there's like no characterization with this with Wuchang, the character. So again, not really too much story, but you have to like really read into the environment, and there's a couple of like pieces of lore you can pick up and read, which I generally read those in a lot of games. Like I actually like loved the ones in Stellar Blade. I got really into that. Like even Last of Us, I read all that, but these I tried reading some of them, and just like all the lore in this game. I mean, that's not for me. Like that's probably a personal preference, but like this. If there was no like story, there were some cutscenes before bosses, I suppose, but like I don't know. To me, I really just chalked this up as really not feeling like it had a story. If you're into like I mean, if you have experience with this and you already know what a Souls like is, and you think like I just don't get it, I might not. I might just not get it. But that's not why I liked the game. I did like the game, and I will say that I do still stand by my initial impressions that this is still like a 6.5 out of 10. It's just filled with jank. It really was just filled with jank, a lot of unpolished, but like I don't want to like deter that 6.5 means bad. Like I think we need more 6.5 games. I think 6.5 sevens, 6.5 sevens. I think those games need to be celebrated. I think there needs to be more of them. I think people need more accepting of them. This was a $50 game, and I got 38 hours of gameplay out of this, which is one run. I mean, like there's a new game plus. I'm not gonna do that. I didn't do all the side quests. I actually started to actively avoid doing any kind of side quests in this game, because I didn't want to. I didn't want to finish it, and I didn't want to get stuck into this nonstop. There's other games that I want to play, and like I said, because of the lack of story from my personal opinion of it, um, yeah, I didn't want this to overstay its welcome. In fact, I felt like I had my fill of it earlier on. So again, with the disappointment of the last boss, me beating on its first try, that was the only boss in the entire game I beat on my first try. Maybe some like of the side bosses. I think like early on, the very first one, like it's an optional one in a cave or whatever. I maybe beat that my first try. Or some of the other bosses that had like two phases. I think like the final two-phase boss of the main ones, which would have been like the second to last boss in the game. I beat the first phase on my first try, which gave me a lot of confidence. I'm gonna beat this one. But there were many bosses in this game that took me like 2.5 to 3 hours to figure out and beat. And the bosses I felt really were like more like puzzles than bosses, and I thought that was really fun. I never played like 2.5 or 3 hours in one sitting. My gaming habits haven't changed. I still play for 15, 30, 45 minutes per sitting, which a game like this with how intense these boss fights are, I thought actually worked out really perfect. I can get to a boss and yeah, they would be destroying me at the beginning. I couldn't figure out how to beat them. And then, I would be like, all right, well, for this 30-minute session, all I want to do is like be able to try to get them down to like halfway. Because, usually like the bosses would have like multiple phases once you get halfway through like their health bar. They would have like, introduce a new attack. And then you have to figure out how to dodge properly and how to counter and all of that. And so and then you get to the two-phase fights, which you deplete the health bar completely, and then basically a second boss comes right after, but you don't get a heal up, you don't get a refresh and heals or anything like that. And those I thought were really cheap. The very first one, like my heart kind of sunk, and I was like, I might actually stop playing this game. Because I felt like I got the gist of it, I got the experience of it, and there was no story I was really following. I was really just kind of marching through, and like I didn't want the game to get the best of me. I enjoyed the challenge. That's what I liked about this game, was the challenge and the overcoming of the challenge. And so in that instance, I beat the first wave. I had like 0 health potions left. And like the way I approached the fights were like I never used like consumable items until like I was pretty confident I was going to win. I actually don't think I ever used consumable items and lost a fight. I used consumable items like, some of those like steam buns that like heal you gradually, or like some health pills that like just give you some HP. But I actually didn't use many items in this game at all. I just used the mana potions, or maybe some of the ones that like deplete like the status effects to get rid of corruption buildup or something. But when I used those, I thought it was just like, I don't know. Because when you use them, you never got them refreshed when you died. So I just thought it was a big waste. I want to like know what I'm doing. I want to truly have an understanding of the animations, the way that the enemy fights, that I have like a real chance. So, early on, I don't see the point of using the items on like the first try fighting someone. I have to learn the fight. And so the first like two-phase fight, I beat the first one. My heart sunk. I'm like, do I want to keep doing it? But I kept going. I was like, I'm gonna go back and I'm just gonna, keep practicing. I want to get to wave 2 with 2 mana potions, with 4 mana potions, and eventually, when I ended up beating that one, like I beat whoever the first two-phase fight was. If you're familiar with the game, maybe you know. I don't really care about the names of any of these enemies because I didn't get into the lore of this game, which is what you need to do if you want to get any kind of story value out of this. But yeah, the first time I beat that, when I beat that first two-wave fight, I beat the first wave and I didn't get hit. I didn't use any mana potions. Like, I mastered it. I absolutely mastered it. My build for the whole thing actually was I was using the axe. I don't know if that's a noob weapon, if that's a crappy weapon or what, but like I used the axe. I utilized pretty much just light attack and heavy attack. And there was one feathering that I probably talked about in the first impressions, that like you jump up and like throw an arrow. I used that one a lot to help dodge out of situations. And I also didn't use many items in general. And really the main reason I played that way is because that's what worked for me. So again, because of a lot of the jank of the game, I think there was only one time in the game I actually had to look anything up, and that I give credit for. I looked some stuff up a few times, but there was one I only gave credit for, and it wasn't even for a fight. I was just like lost in an area. I think it was like Cloudshire. I took like a shortcut, which totally threw me off. I didn't know how the game worked, or it might be common with other Souls-likes. I didn't know how it worked, and there was no good tutorials. Throughout like the whole game, there was like no tutorials or explanations, and which I thought there was just bad design all around. So I like took this shortcut on the Cloudshire chapter, and I did like the main area, and as I was exploring, because I didn't know where to go, I ended up going back and like doing the stuff that I skipped on the shortcut, thinking that was the way forward, and I was totally lost on where to go. And I was like running around for like 3 hours, destroying everything, almost accidentally becoming a little over leveled, and just destroyed everything. And eventually I like looked it up and figured it out, and it was like right next to me in like this like foggy area that like the snow was going heavy, and like I don't know, I just didn't go that way. I probably thought that was going backwards, and just yeah, I thought the design of the level design was kind of bad overall. But there were some fights that like I did kind of look up. I was just like, like I'm kind of considering putting the game down and not finishing it. But and I didn't think it was a chore. Like actually just like after I like put it down, like that's how maybe I finished playing one of my sessions. I was like, I don't know if I want to keep doing this. But then like after 24 hours passed, I'm like, do I want to start a different game and move on? Or do I want to try to play two games at the same time and have and like not only play Wuchang, but I thought if I do that, I'm not gonna come back to it. And part of me, I just like wanted to come back to it. Like something about it, it was fun. Like yeah, it's 6.5, but I liked it. I was enjoying it. It kept me coming back. And so like in moments of weakness, I was like, I'm gonna look up some stuff on a guide. Like it started with me looking up like, is this boss like mandatory or is it an optional boss? Because like I don't want to do the optional bosses. I want to keep going. I want to beat the game, but I'm not into the story. I'm not into the lore. I'm not into the side quests. I just want to do the main stuff. Again, it's not checklist, but like that's like the way I decided I want to keep playing this game. I didn't want to. I didn't want to spend 3 hours fighting a boss and then it like not be like needed or like just part of a side quest. And that was like something that came up throughout the game. Was I don't, again, 2.5 to 3 hours, that might have happened like 3, 4, 5, 6 times, to the point where I was confident. I'm like, whatever boss they throw at me, with enough time, I'm gonna figure it out. I'm gonna get used to the dance, and I'm gonna overcome it. Like I was pretty confident that that was gonna happen. So that was kind of like, do I need to keep doing this? Especially when I did that two-phase fight and learned about that there was a two-phase boss for the first time. I was like, do I need to keep doing this? Like, do I need to keep playing the game and get to the next boss, grind 3 hours just to do it again? And I was kind of thinking, no, maybe I don't. But like I kept going back. Like I don't know, something about the game. Like I wanted to keep going. I was enjoying the game actually. And so I did go back and I did keep playing. And some of those moments of weakness, I did look up other stuff for other boss fights. I was like, oh, this boss is really easy if you use this build. And then something I think was cool about this game was I looked at some of the stuff. I was like, I don't have that stuff where like I don't use dual blades. I've been using axe. That's the way I've been playing the game. And I think for one of them, like the second to last boss fight, there was like, oh, this is a really broken way of doing it. And I was like, it's the second to last boss. I'm almost done with the game. Let's just finish the game and get over with. I tried putting that build together, and uh it just didn't work for me. Like, I don't know, it didn't mesh with me. Like, it wasn't my play style. And I set it up, I tried it, I'm like, I'm not liking this, I'm not comfortable, I'm doing worse than what I was doing before with my build and my play style. So I set everything back, and then I just kicked the boss's ass. It was great. Like, I was like so hyped, I was so happy because I was like, I did it on my terms, I did it with my build, I did it with my play style. Like, I looked it up, but like it was like my thing. I think there was another boss that I ended up like, it was like a two-phase fight, and the two phases were annoying because like you had to like spend all this time. I think it was also the first one too. Yet like every time you died, you had to go down like this elevator and wait, and then you go in and you do the fight, and then you have to like you like might not even confidently get through phase one, and you get through phase one, and then you start phase two, and then have to do that thing where it's like, all right, well, like I have to learn this one from scratch too, its patterns and everything, and then the first time you fight it, you might only be alive for like 30 seconds as you figure out how it's working. And then, you die and you try again, and you die and you try again, and you die and try again. But it sucks when every time you have to do that is backed behind a second wave, or, a second phase of the fight where you have to go down the elevator and start the fight and then get through phase one and then start phase two where you just like start an analysis phase. And I was like, this is BS. And then, then I'm like, all right, like I have to calm down, and I'm going to go and I'm going to attempt the boss fight. I'm going to beat phase one. I'm going to go to phase two. I'm not even going to fight it. I'm just going to dodge. I'm just going to see how long I can stay alive. I'm going to run around and dodge and just start learning the animations. And then I got like this idea, like during like my a 24-hour like gap, like not playing the game. I was like, you know what? I was fighting. I could have just like hit the record, like the share, the record content button on PlayStation 5 and recorded like, the last like 15 or 30 minutes of my gameplay and had a video of me running around and dodging. And like during my time, I don't get to play. I could be like looking at my phone every once in a while, like looking at the clip and start seeing the. I didn't do this. I didn't end up doing any of this. But I could totally like, without feeling like I'm cheating, because like this is part of the PlayStation 5 console. Like I can record gameplay footage. Like I could totally record footage of me going around and like fighting the boss, and then I can like do my own analysis of it, and that would save me time of having to go down the elevator and fight phase one, and then going and doing it, and like I can sit and like figure out it's like swipe, 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 big swipe, and like kind of figure out like the dodge mechanics of that. So I think I like looked up like one YouTube video of someone beating it easy, but like it wasn't my build or anything. And I think I like watched it once. I was like yeah, like I could totally do this again. Like once I like get to that point, I end up like beating it like immediately after on my own anyway. So it's just like kind of funny. I'm like, man, like if I just like didn't look it up, I would have beat it anyway. But not that like looking it up had any good value for me. But like throughout like all that looking up stuff and throughout it, and I just see like, I'm critiquing how like the game is like janky and how it doesn't have like very good like tutorial systems. It doesn't have good explanations. You can get lost easily. Like early on in the game, some of these fights that took me like 3 hours. Honestly, like I like I don't know if I did to myself or what, but it's like I didn't understand like the skill tree too much at the beginning, and all these things I learned by myself. I didn't look any of this stuff up, but like I didn't understand the skill. I was just like, this is my first game. I'm using X. Let's go. I'll get a lot of strength. I'll get like health and stamina. Some of those boosts since I'm still like learning the game. And like I didn't know if you go down the magic side, that's where you can like get this unlock like more mana potions. So like through a good chunk of the beginning of the game, I only had like 3 mana potions. Once I figured out I could get more, like I like had enough for like 6. Like I was very under leveled in some of those fights. And temperance, I didn't know that until I don't know, it was like the second 2-phase fight. Like I just learned what that temperance was, this like this consumable. I like didn't use it at the very beginning when they first gave it to you, because like I was like, I only have one. This sounds like it's a strong thing to do, but I don't want to waste it, so I'll figure it out later. And like I forgot about it completely. and then it was like some side. I like found the as I was going through trying to like work on like a build for a fight. I like looked at the temperance. I was like, I don't understand how this works. It says I have like 1 out of 1, and I was like, wait a minute, can this get like restored when I go back to the shrine? And like, sure enough, it was. I was like, I didn't like, I even unlocked nodes to get like to put like the stones on the temperance. Like I had extra ones, but I like was never using it. I was like, why isn't the leech working? Like I didn't understand that that was the temperance. And it's maybe because like I don't know if it's because like I don't watch like content online about the game, or like streamers playing it, or it's just like this is a soul. It says here on the back it's a Souls-like game. So like I don't know, maybe they're just like people know what Souls-likes are because like Demon Souls that's been around for like 10 plus years or whatever, and like maybe that's just like a thing in other Souls games. Like this is my first one, so I didn't know there was like that power up move, and then I was like, oh, like I had this power up move all along that I could have been using on so many of the boss fights, and like I wasn't using it, and then there was like charges for it, and I was like, oh, so once I learned about temperance, like I immediately had like 3 charges of it before I ever used it for the first time. Again, like maybe that's why like the last boss would be on my first try or whatever. Like I had all these like I was like myself was being just held back, and it's because I didn't like look stuff up. And as I was looking some stuff up in terms of some of the bosses, like I was coming up Reddit threads, being careful. I didn't want to read too much. Like I didn't want I want to figure out the stuff for myself. And it's just like some people are like praising like, yeah, like you just look up tutorials, look up guides. It's like there's part of it's like you can either like play it by yourself and figure it out like how I approached it, or there's like a community driven aspect. And like I don't know, I'm seeing all these comments like, yeah, that's like part of these Souls like games, or there's community driven solutions and all that. And to that I say that's kind of, I think that's lazy. I think that's like dumb how like they throw these levels together, and like some of these like artificially difficult bosses, or just like these systems, and like without the lack of a proper like tutorial, like very little would be needed to give a proper tutorial for some of the stuff. And just like leave it to the community to discuss online on how to do stuff, and it's like, oh yeah, you do this and this and this, and then bam, it works. And it's like, I don't know, I think that's a bit of a jank. A reason why it's like still like a 6.5 is like there wasn't like good explanations on stuff like that, of like the temperance, of the skill tree, of like all this stuff. Like a mini map would have been nice. um yeah, some of that stuff I was just like, I don't know, the community driven stuff, I think that's like maybe just lazy cutting corners in the game development side and the game design side. And they're like, it's community driven, yeah, part of the charm. Oh, the story, it's the lore, just because these games, maybe if most of these games don't have a lot of good story, and it's all lore based and more of like reading a book type of story, and it has all this jank, and like people are like saying like, you don't get it, that's just part of the, this is your first time playing the Souls, like that's just part of the genre, that's just how these games are. Like I'd hate that. That's just how these games are. It doesn't have to be that way. Like there's potential here to give it like that next level polish, and it could be a great game with the same kind of combat, with the same kind of skill tree. I don't think that, I think there could still be more to it, but at the same time, this is a $50 budget title, and I think it's important that we hit those price points, 30, 40, $50. So if that's the difference between $50 and an $80 game, we need more $50 here, and I think this serves its spot. Like, let it be $50, let it be a 6.5, let it have some of that jank. I still figured it out on the way. It just left me wishing for more. But at the end, it's still okay. That doesn't really need to deter it. I still enjoyed my time with it. And another thing where it turned me off with like, or like kind of holding me back from starting Elden Ring back when that was hype, because like my child was like just born, and I heard like the game, you can't pause the game, and that was kind of like, I was like, I can't play this game right now. I need to be able to pause. And I was kind of thinking like, well, I couldn't really pause this game, so maybe it's very similar to Elden Ring. And I know, like, reading about like Elden Ring and stuff, people are like defending it, like that's just part of, you can't pause the game because that, like, that's part of the difficulty. And I kind of wonder with the pausing, is it just because like if you pause, you can like change your items, you can change like your build in the middle of a fight, and like you consume 5 health items, and then you pause the game, and set in a new health item, then you have just more and more health, and you can kind of cheese and push and cheese your way through a boss because you're only supposed to be able to hold 4 items. Um, is it that the reason? Because if so, there was a shrine that I was trying to like. It was when I was lost for 3 hours in Cloudshire, and just like I was like I'm just running past stuff like, and I was like I'm just getting to the shrine. I want to save over here, turn it off, and some people were chasing me, but I didn't want to fight them because like I was beyond this. I'm like 3 hours into running around. I'm over leveled. Who cares? I run past them and I go to the shrine and it won't let me save because it knows I'm in combat. So if it won't let me save on it and it knows I'm in combat, why can't I pause the game and just like disable the items menu or something? Like you can't change your build because you're in combat. Like it knows I'm in combat. Like there's some kind of like flag that knows I'm in combat, so it wouldn't let me save at the shrine, or access the shrine. So yeah, why can't it save? Is it like so I like you can't catch your breath and think? Like I don't buy that. Like if someone's like attacking me and I pause, I don't know, like unpause and like hit circle to dodge, like that wouldn't work for me. That would mess me up. Like pausing in the middle of a fight and like trying to catch my breath. I never confirmed if like going to, and I kept meaning to do it, if going to like the PlayStation Home, if that would actually pause the game or not, or if it keeps playing in the background suspended. I don't know if it would or not. But I never did confirm that. But yeah, I think that's a big load of baloney for not being able to pause these kind of games because it needs to make it more hard. But yeah, a lot like the 2 phase stuff I thought was just artificial difficulty. Like that stuff I thought was just like lazy a way to make it more difficult and just annoying. Um, yeah, lack of mini map really made getting lost also annoying. Lack of explanations, like these like shortcuts. I didn't know there were shortcuts in the games. I thought maybe it was like a challenge room or something. There's just this, like weird looking door. I access it. Um, dialogue. You see a dialogue. Like I thought about trying to do some side quests, and you get a dialogue, and there's like no note system that like you can reference like where you are on the quest line or anything like that. You just have to like know it or like look it up online with this community driven stuff. And so what kept me going through the game this entire time was the challenge and just that dopamine of like beating the boss. Like, yeah, sometimes grinding 3 hours like felt like, do I need to keep doing this? But at the same time, it was so rewarding after, and it just like kept building and building and building and like just more and more rewarding. That's what kept me going, kept me playing, and just my character getting stronger and me getting better. Like I figured out temperance, I figured out how like the skill tree works, and like redoing my builds and everything before fights, and just me like understanding the systems deeper and deeper. And like that felt rewarding too, just like getting like better at Souls, like by myself, like figuring it out without looking too much stuff up, and having these explanations and walkthroughs and guides. And then like also like but like when I did look and like dabble into some Reddit threads, seeing like how like much people struggled on stuff, and I felt good. I was like, wow, this is my first Souls like I beat it by myself on my own terms with my own build, like not even using like any special attacks, just light and heavy like axe. Maybe that's a noob weapon, I have no idea, or maybe it's like the worst weapon in the game. I couldn't tell you, I don't know. But that's just what I used and how I played. And just like I don't know, I don't buy or just what kept me going was those dopamine hits and those fights and then doing it. And then just like for the last fight, like I'm like I was really hyped this morning. I'm like, I know I got one more fight left, because I was looking at a chart for like the optional boss. I'm like, I know this is the final fight of the game. Like, let's do it. Let's get to the final boss this morning, and then like later tonight, instead of filming this video, I thought I was gonna keep grinding the final boss. And I beat him on my first try. And I was just like, oh, and I got like the bad ending or whatever. Like I knew I would because I was doing side quests, and like you just die. And it's like I beat the boss on my first try, so I don't get that like any of that like like dopamine really of like like I had to struggle and like work for it and win, which was like the whole thing keeping me going through the whole game. Like I didn't get story out of this game, like I got a bunch of jank out of this game, but those fights and those were like those were what kept me going through this game. And I didn't get like a good battle at the end. It wasn't a good fight at the end. I just won. I just kicked his ass. Like that was it. And it was over. And then like the bad ending, like you just die. So it was like all of this was for nothing. And then the credits roll, and I just like skipped the credit roll because there was no story. So I'm like, what? I don't even know if there's an end credit scene. I regretted. Then I went on YouTube and looked at the like kind of fast forwarded, but like I don't know. I didn't even sit there and like absorb the game. I just like skipped it, I was like, I'm done. That's it. I'm done. Like I don't. It's just like it was almost like an artificial ending. Like I like my instincts earlier when I thought about like stopping. I could have just stopped whenever and been in the same position with the same experience without having this like disappointing ending to it. I guess like it wasn't even like I don't know the final fight like didn't feel like a final fight. It wasn't like my most rewarding one. Even the second to last one wasn't like the most rewarding fight because I like beat phase one on my first try. So, but then at the same time, it's a polar opposite of my complaints of like the bigger waste of times. But I don't know, those bigger waste of times gave bigger dopamine hits. I don't know. It was jank. Maybe that's just part of the game. I don't know. I might be missing something, but overall, I still stand by 6.5, and I think that's okay though. And I think yeah, people should be more accepting of that. I don't recommend this game to my closest friends. There's no story that no story again that makes it worth it to me. And you need to be in the right headspace for this. Like if you're not going into like I want to play a game that's really hard and really push myself and I'm like not going to get frustrated by it because like I'm in that headspace. Like this is my first Souls. Like this might not even be the best option. Like maybe Dark Souls is the best first option. Probably Elder Scrolls is a great first option. Um, I just said Elder Scrolls. Elden Ring. I have no idea if I've even been saying Elden Ring this whole video, or if I've been saying Elder Scrolls. That's funny. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I would much prefer like Stellar Blade over this, even though that's not like a true Souls like because I can jump. But a lot of the same things with like the battles. There were some good boss fights and that good combat. I don't know what the Souls like here versus that. I I think I played. Clocked 38 hours in this game and 36 hours in Stellar Blade, and I feel like Stellar Blade was a lot longer than this game because this game a lot of those hours came from being stuck on a boss. So it's like this 38 hours like artificially inflated. Like when I go back, I don't like think of like the timeline of this game. I don't think of like I don't know if you think of like a movie being 3 hours long. Like I don't know, was I like looping a scene like a 10-minute scene for like 2 of those hours? It would then feel like a 1 hour movie, not a 3 hour movie. I don't know, something like that. You know what I mean? I feel like I got way more out of Stellar Blade, even though I played less than this. And I want to go back and play more Stellar Blade too. This, I don't know if I'll ever play this again. I might. Uh, but I don't know. I don't know. You know, I could sell this because it's not digital, but maybe I will. Maybe I'll get nostalgic because this was my first Souls like. And if I want to explore the genre more, I want to play Elden Ring. Probably want to play Demon Souls. I have that on PS5. It came with my launch. I had to buy like a launch bundle because it was so hard to buy PS5s, and I've always been scared and intimidated to play it because I know these games are hard. Now, like you know, that seal's broken. I'm not intimidated or scared by these anymore, and this was probably gonna be the hardest one I played because there was probably a lot of the systems are like that temperance stuff. That's probably going to be similar in Demon Souls, I would suspect. And so I'll have that kind of knowledge going into it and what to expect and with the levels and all that. I'm sure like, you know, this is a Souls like I'm guessing this is probably just like a cheap clone or something. But again, it was fun. I liked it. It is what it is. I still stand by that 6.5. I don't know if that's going to offend anybody, but I think there should be like a just a mindset shift that like we should want more 6.5 games at those cheaper, as long as they're at cheaper price points. If it's an $80 6.5 game, that's bad. $50 6.5 game, we should more of these, and you know whatever 6 point. It's just a number. If you mean seven, like I don't know, a 9 out of 10, a 9 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10, I should be able to recommend to anybody. Like an 8 out of 10, I should be able to recommend to anybody who's a fan of that genre. You know, and it goes on, gets more and more niche, and this is definitely niche, definitely jank, and yeah, that's how I felt about Wuchang Fallen Feathers. I don't regret my time with this. I don't regret this purchase. I think it was worth my time. I'm glad I had this experience, and I wouldn't trade it. I don't say I wish I played a different game during this time. I'm glad I finished it. It now I can, without regret, move on. I wish there was some more from it. Like there could have been more. And if it's because of the genre when it comes to lack of story and the you know the amount of jank that's in these games, I hope the genre can evolve. And again, I'm not saying this is the top tier version because I'm a noob when it comes to this genre. It's the only one I've played. Elden Ring might change my entire perspective of it. That might be exactly what I'm looking for. I don't know though, and maybe I will. Maybe I'll find out as time goes on. But I ain't gonna play another one of these games right away. Maybe not even anytime soon. Maybe next year. Maybe next year I'll play. Maybe this is like a once a year I play a Souls-like game. Uh, but not now. Not now. I think I need just like a mascot 3D platformer and a JRPG after this. This was uh quite sweaty. At one point, some of the boss was so hard. I honestly thought like I got like a hernia or something. It was very difficult. But if I played this again a second time, I think I would do better. Unless I tried a different weapon, which I probably would. That was the fun of this game. Is like you can fight the way you want to. And when I looked stuff up, there wasn't my play style, so looking it up didn't even help me. And it was nice knowing that like I could still play it the way I wanted to play and still beat it, the way I wanted to beat it. And yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Have you played Wuchang Fallen Feathers? Have you not played it, but has this video helped you make a decision to pick it up? Or have you just played any other Souls-like and you're familiar with the genre and what I'm talking about? I don't know, good or bad from my impressions. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to talk more. Thank you. See you in the next video.